Today on Game Pass Daily, on this special episode, I'll discuss my top 10 games this year for Game Pass. That and more coming up next. What's good, gamers? It's Rhetri from Game Pass Daily with my personal top 10 list for Game Pass titles that came to the service in 2023. This was not an easy video, but before we get into it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. First up on the list was a surprise shadow drop that hit in January at the Xbox Developer Direct. Hi-Fi Rush is not just a game, it's a symphony of gaming excellence. The rhythm-based action game blends immersive gameplay with a pulsating soundtrack, creating an electrifying gaming experience. It's a quality title with an insane amount of humor that is actually funny, and that is not an easy thing to pull off in video games, but Tango Gameworks seem to nail it. With its charming characters, smooth combat, stunning animation, and artistic design, this game truly earned all the compliments and accolades it got this year, and it certainly deserves to be placed on my top 10 list. Next is the controversial game I think is a celestial masterpiece that captivated me with its vast universe and open exploration. I'm of course talking about Starfield. The Bethesda RPG captivated me with a sense of wonder and discovery. I, for one, was a bit worried about the gunplay mechanics on this game, but after playing it, it felt really good and in my opinion is arguably the best to date from Bethesda. I played as a space pirate after joining the Crimson Fleet faction and basically stole everything that wasn't nailed down. I was wanted in multiple cities and planets, so it's possible I had more shootout encounters than the average player. I think if you enjoy story and lore in games, there is plenty to sink your teeth into, and it seems to pick up nicely in the second half of the game. Of course, you can play hundreds of hours without touching the main quest lines and play the way that you want. Never mind, a lot of the side quests were surprisingly, in my opinion, better than the main storyline. Not every RPG hits for me, but I found Starfield to be a lot of fun. One of my favorite things about Game Pass is playing games and discovering gems I otherwise would have never touched. It opened my eyes to the wonderful world of indie titles like Planet of Lana. We have a realized world that is absolutely gorgeous, displaying breathtaking beauty through exceptional art direction, a stunning color palette, and an awe-inspiring sense of scale. I call games like this palette cleansers, and trust me when I say that is not a knock on the game. I look forward to shorter experiences after sinking hundreds of hours into multiplayer games and RPGs. This game has a heartfelt narrative that I really enjoyed, and I'm always down for a game that has some decent twists in the story. It's a good game with fun puzzle mechanics and has a soundtrack that definitely stands out. It also doesn't hurt that you have a cute companion with you during your journey to help you navigate the world. If you enjoy fantasy and horror games with a psychological twist, and you're a fan of titles like Limbo, then Bramble the Mountain King is tailor-made just for you. In a world inspired by Nordic folklore, with its sinister and somber tones, Bramble completely nails the dark and twisted cautionary tales that dwell in Scandinavia. Mythical beasts are beautifully designed, as are the environments you travel through in the game. This is one of my favorite games this year in regards to the aesthetic. It's a world of nightmares and beauty wrapped into one. The sound effects and soundtrack are excellent and do a great job of heightening what are already very tense situations. I have to emphasize though, this game can get pretty dark in some areas, so you have been warned, but I loved it and it easily made my list. This team-based third-person survival horror game was a ton of fun playing with the Xbox community and friends. I'm talking about Gun Interactive's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In the game, you can play as the infamous Slaughter family members or survivors trying to escape. With its intense gameplay and faithful representation of the movie's essence, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game is a great example of how a horror game franchise can be transformed into a successful gaming experience. The environment is reminiscent of the movie, so the game really succeeds in the illusion of feeling like you're there. What's great about playing with a large group of people is the scary but sometimes funny moments when you have to work together in chat to explain where the killers or victims might be located. This leads to some funny encounters where some of us are using code to not give our position away. The retro-inspired RPG known as Sea of Stars made it onto my top 10 list with ease. This turn-based RPG has beautiful pixel art, a cast of charming characters, and a satisfying soundtrack that reminds me of my childhood. I honestly did not expect to like this game as much as I do. There is something special about it, where much like a game like Hi-Fi Rush, I struggled to find any flaws in the game. You got solid combat, fantastic characters, a good variety of biomes and environments, pleasant musical tracks. There's just not much to dislike in this game. I really enjoy the fact that attacks and defense can be boosted by tapping the A button at the appropriate time. I feel like this is a game that looks simple on the surface, but there are several tricks and mechanics that enhance the combat during battle. This type of combat is not for everyone, but once in a while a game comes along that opens up new genres and game types for people that normally refuse to play them. I think much like Elden Ring was an eye-opener for those that typically hate Souls games, I'm hoping that Sea of Stars is the same for a lot of those turn-based haters. Give it a try and let me know what you think. Loosely based on the adventures of Pinocchio, there is something about taking a nice classic and giving a horror twist that I just can't get enough of. This is why I loved American McGee's Alice game back in the day. Next up is Lies of P. One thing I can say about this game is that it is really gorgeous. I'm impressed by what NeoWiz and Round 8 Studios were able to accomplish pushing Unreal Engine 4 to its limits. The variety in puppet design and bosses is one of my favorite things about this title. I'm not gonna lie though, there are some serious difficulty spikes in Lies of P that can be really infuriating. Assembling my own weapons in different combinations I thought was a cool mechanic, even if it cost me speed if I affixed something like a great sword to my arm. Lies of P is a very divisive game, I believe mostly due to its difficulty, but nothing is more satisfying than besting a challenging boss. Lies of P is waiting for you right now on Gamepass. This world-hopping puzzle game from Jeppe Carlsen, the lead gameplay designer of Limbo and Inside, was on my radar for a long time, and luckily, it did not disappoint. With no on-screen button prompts and a lack of UI, Cocoon is able to showcase its beautiful world uninterrupted, which is something you just don't see very often in games these days. The puzzles in the games are really creative, and carrying an entire world inside an orb on your back is a really cool concept that just somehow works. Never mind that those orbs contain different abilities that help you solve puzzles throughout the game. Boss fights in the game were a little on the easy side, but I still find them very enjoyable. Cocoon's story felt like a mystery until the very end, and I got that kind of aha moment. But it also feels like it allows you to make some interpretation on what's going on plot-wise. I highly recommend that you give this indie a shot. Next up is a horror classic game that came back with one of the best remakes I've ever seen. After being on ice for 15 years, Dead Space was resurrected in all its bloody glory. The dismemberment system looks and feels better than ever, but they added a new system called peeling, which shows more of the necromorph's decaying skin, flesh, and muscles tearing apart when you shoot them, revealing more and more of the bone inside. Using the iconic weapons in tandem with your abilities felt fluid and natural. Even though I can predict when something might pop out at me, I still jumped multiple times playing this game. Also, the visuals are so stunning in this game, it's easily one of the best looking games of 2023. This game is all about atmosphere, and Dead Space has it in spades. Horror fans, please do not skip this one. Last up on my list is a more relaxed game, something you can play and that feels almost like a meditative experience. I'm speaking about Jusant, the indie puzzle gem from Studio Don't Nod. This game is gorgeous and took advantage of the Unreal Engine 5's lumen lighting technology and nanite, enabling the team to double the frame rate it was running using UE4. The climbing mechanic and puzzles in this game are fantastic. It made something as simple as using a rope and carabiners to climb the tower fun and somehow feel very natural. The impressive level designs in this game definitely look great and will have you stop in to look around to enjoy your view. Jusant also uses different weather effects throughout the game, which creates some cool gameplay moments. Jusant is a short experience, so if you have the time, I recommend this one as one of those feel-good games. So that's my top 10 list for Game Pass in 2023, but before I leave, I have to give an honorable mention, which is to Remnant 2. I just started playing this one, and so far I'm loving it. I'm trying to get more into Souls-like games, and this one has guns, so it's right up my alley. That's all I got for you guys today, so thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Game Pass Daily on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, and join our Discord gaming community.